You're watching Pyro Native America.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Conversations with Clergy. I am your host, Dr. Donta, author of Faithful and Forgotten. If you've not gotten my book, hey, check it out. It's important. So today we're going to have a phenomenal conversation with my brother friend, J. Christopher Johnson, about what is going on. We all know that America right now is a complete train wreck. Politically, there is just foolishness going on left and right. And a lot of people are sitting back wondering, well, what's going on to change it? Who's out there really advocating? We don't really have any people out there that we can recognize and are familiar with who are really putting in the work. And to be quite honest, that is the furthest from the truth. There are a lot of advocates out there just fighting the system. They're trying to do what they can. But of course, we are battling an administration that is powerful, hate to say it, but has a presence that they can really take over a lot of the, let's just say they can put their influence out there in ways that we shouldn't be expecting. But there are people behind the scenes that are doing a lot of work to just push back these negative agendas and to make us more aware of the power of not only our voice, but the power of our vote. And today is no different. So if this is your first time checking out Conversations with Clergy, I'm glad to have you here. I have been doing this show for quite some time under the umbrella of the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. They were the entity that was responsible for Conversations with Clergy. They are a privately funded think tank that really focuses on vaccine technology, vaccine research, HIV research, and I'm putting things out there for you to kind of see where I'm going here. So if you are also aware that the current administration did a lot of maneuvering with dollars when it came to HIV research and education, and it affected a lot of entities, So with that being said, hey, the HBTN is still in existence, but they are fighting tirelessly against a system that really is not doing what it should be doing to help us find a cure. I'll leave that right there. All right. So today I have the pleasure of having my friend J. Christopher Johnson on here, and he is an amazing person who is dedicated to just doing what needs to be done. He is an activist, a grassroots organizer, strategic planner with a passion for creating change and promoting social equity. He is a graduate of Dillard University and currently pursuing a Master's of Social Work at the Dr. Millie M. Charles School of Social Work, housed on the campus of Southern University in where? New Orleans, baby, New Orleans. He made history as the youngest candidate to run for Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District in the 2021 special election. And as the founding director, executive director of Mobilizing Millennials organization, J. Christopher leads a nonprofit focused on advancing civic engagement and political literacy through workshops, seminars, and intentional community engagement. He also contributed to the New Orleans Youth Alliance, on track to college success and CK Life Education and Pathways. So without further ado, please welcome to Conversations with Clergy, my friend, J. Christopher Johnson.
Whoa. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, fam? How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing real good. I'm above the ground, not below it. It's another day, another chance, a new opportunity just to make things right. So I'm excited.
You can tell people that preach. They come on with the catchphrases. They come on with the whole pulpit introduction. They come on ready to always give a sermon, and you are no different, down there in New Orleans. So,
Yeah.
Bible say, be you ready always.
It's George J. Christopher Johnson. I like to say J. Christopher. I be having to remember, especially during times like these, I be having to remember Christ dwells within me,
Listen, it's a lot going on, and I did a talk today, talking about the importance of spirituality in holistic health, and I was just talking about the different denominations, with different religions. We got 10,000 religions globally, but there's really only 12 major ones. And being a Christian, like yourself, sometimes, people look at you a little side-eyed, because when they look at Christianity nowadays, they associate it and tether it to the current state of America. All the hate that's being done in the name of Christ, all the chaos and all this just stuff that's happening by a Christ-led administration. And I put that in air quotes. Hey, Andre, what's up, my brother? How you doing, Locke? How you doing? When you think about nowadays being a Christian, we kind of have to look around us, because a lot of folks ain't really feeling Christians right now because of how they're seeing Christians act and treat other people like they're humans. And I love talking to brothers like you and my brother Andre that can just debunk that and show that there are good Christians out there focused on humanity, focused on humankind, and focused on bettering the lives of all people, not just the ones that look like them. So what are your thoughts on that right now? What do you feel about that?
Just when it comes to it, the church and Christianity is a culture, right? And so what has been birthed out of that culture is what we now what we might now call Christian extremism, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. As you were talking, I was really questioning in my mind, or not questioning, I was articulating, they don't serve the same God I serve. All right. That's not the same Christ in which I abide by. Okay. Right. And so I know that a lot of times the latent goal oftentimes camouflages the reality of the plans of people. Mm-hmm. So in a way that is more palatable. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, I believe in God, not because of anything that anybody has said to me, but because of the experiences I've had for myself. And so I would challenge and I would charge community to foster the importance of that relationship and understand that God wants to court you. You don't have to listen to no middleman. You got to know that God is chasing after you. Whatever you need can still be done. And so it's a personal thing. It's a personal fight. But nonetheless, this is an illusion of confusion. And folk have to prioritize what it means to align themselves with people who share morals and ethics, and that's called community. Oftentimes we say we're a part of this community, that community. You hear LGBT community, but I tell folk all the time, I'm not a part of the community. I'm a part of that population of people, right? Just because you share certain demographical things does not mean you are meant to be residing or coinciding with that individual. So I just charge and implore folks to understand, just like Andre said, God is love, and the church must display love. And I'll leave it there.
No, and I think that's really powerful, because we go on really left. We're gonna pull it on back. But I think what you're saying is so on point and is so true, because a lot of people they're missing the message because they're focused on the messenger, and albeit the messenger right. Some of the messengers right now have their own agenda We still cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. But that's really difficult to do when your household is being attacked, or your personhood is being attacked by those who have been charged to love.
Yeah.
And I think that's the space we're in right now. People really don't know who to trust. Who are the real saints of God?
When we're talking about the word love, I think we also need to evaluate how that's displayed and how are we expecting that, right? And I know we oftentimes hear the conversation that you can't expect what it is that you put out there. But as plainly as the Bible tells us, love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't say love is like patience, love is like kindness. It is telling you just what love is. And if it's your experience that you are not in a room with somebody who is aligning themselves with those virtues, obviously they're not following those same principles or interpreting scripture in the capacity in which it needs to be most beneficial and have the greatest efficacy, right? So, folk got to understand what love is for them and understand that you ain't going to be loved by everybody. But do your job to love your neighbor as yourself, as difficult as that may be. I tell folk all the time, I love you because God loves you first. Okay?
Period.
I love you because God loves you first.
Period. Do your part. Do your part. At the end of the day, just do your part. And speaking of doing your part, like I opened up telling people that it feels like, well, some people feel like there is no voice. There's no voices out there really fighting against the system. Because to be honest, when you go on Instagram, you're inundated with the latest negative messaging. And it seems like, well, man, how do we shut this stuff down? How do we stop this stuff? And I have tried to really balance out my social media with positive individuals. I keep some negative so I'm not blinded when things happen, but I really try to follow those who are using their voice for the betterment of all mankind. And I think it's really important. My brother says the true Christian after church. At church, we learn to be like the other, but after church, the real you will show up. Let's be more Christ-like. Listen, because the church will create a whole bunch of minor birds. We all saying the same thing. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. Until Monday come, and now we cussing those same people out. So how are you when the spotlight is not on you? And it's really all about integrity in your relationship with Christ. So bro, you are out there putting in the work. Mobilizing Millennials is really about just pulling in individuals for the political movement. And I think that is so important. And before we get too deep into this, are you Martin? Or are you Malcolm?
I don't think that the civil rights movement would have been a success without the both of them. And so though approaches differentiate, the response that we desired was the same. The end goal was the same. I look at everybody like gears to a clock. If one piece or one part of that gear stops, show us the whole operation. It's going to stop ticking. So even though I may not fully align with the way in certain folks display their activism, I do believe that everybody is meant to activate, however that looks for you, right? Everybody should understand that advocacy and organizing looks differently to all of us. And you're going to have some folks who are going to be more temperamental. You're going to have some folks who are going to just be frustrated and tired of this. You're going to have folks who are going to be cussing folks out and who are at meetings and who are just, as folk would say, out there wreaking havoc. But how long can you go throughout this thing called life always feeling as if you're not heard, that your voice don't matter, that change is not coming? That gets exhausting. That gets discouraging. And so for me, I embody both of those individuals because while I do not support or am a proponent of violence, I am a proponent of civil disobedience and resistance. And that time would have been much better, now would be much better because of that time, there was strategic planning in that thing. I think a lot of times today, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we make a lot of noise, then what, right? The noise needs to be made, the awareness needs to be had, but so does the organizing. And so when I think about the civil rights movement, I'm thinking about folks organizing in churches. I'm thinking about folks organizing in their homes because they knew that I can't just do this for today, but I need to create a sustainable movement in which the legacies they're coming after me is going to be able to feel and reap the benefits of my fight. So a long answer that a little long, but both of them.
No, you said a mouthful. I think the things that I pulled from that I extracted was strategy and sustainability. Mm-hmm. You know, and I go back to, you know, we talk about, you know, Target, for example. You know, people were boycotting Target. I don't know if we're still boycotting Target. I'm not sure, because it seemed to be silence on that. So I'm like, okay, so we're boycotting Target for how long? Can I get a date? You know, can I get a goal? What are we trying to do? I don't want to be a soundbite, because I don't want to be boycotting y'all back and getting y'all washing powder, and I'm at home beating my clothes against a rock. But yeah, because y'all like, oh, we ended that 3 weeks ago. Well, y'all showed up, didn't tell me about it. You know, so I think that what you said was key: strategy and sustainability. And I personally feel that that's missing. I think that we do a lot of things willy-nilly because we operate in the moment and it's based off of emotion, but we're not coming together. Everybody wants to be the first to kick off something, but nobody wants to do the work of planning it effectively, you know? So I do have some questions that I want to ask. And Kwame, if you can just throw up the first one that I had curated for this special conversation, and let's get into it. So here we go. Do they really hear us? And this goes to, you do a lot of activism and advocacy within state capitals, with legislature, with elected officials. Do they really hear us? Or are we just wasting our time storming the halls and tearing down the gates?
They hear you. They hear you. All of them hear you. I care less about the party affiliation. All of them hear you. Are they listening to you? Because when I hear something, I'm going to say, huh? And, you know, some people say, oh, you heard me. No, baby. I heard you, but I ain't comprehend that thing, huh? Yeah. So a lot of times it's noise that is heard on behalf of the legislators, right? So they hear you. We would not be embarking on so much disenfranchisement if they did not hear you. We wouldn't have so many attempts to suppress voters if they didn't hear you. We wouldn't have these funding cuts to the health system of $880 billion for them not listening to you. But the reality is that we must create and implement strategy to where they have no other choice but to listen to you. How does that happen? We have to organize. We have to plan. We have to sit down and identify what is that thing that we want to change. What is that thing that we are proposing a policy prescription for? Because just as you were saying, we are very much so emotional people, but when it's time to articulate that thing that we're emotional about, oftentimes we have trouble doing that. And so that's why when I do trainings and workshops, we're not doing this no PowerPoint. Now we got to work together. What's the action plan? I am very intentional about, we doing an action plan, you're doing a mobilization campaign. What are we doing? Because those things are organized. Those things allow you to have a more streamlined system so it doesn't seem as if you're going to exhaust yourself or frustrate yourself, but you're going to have things that are more automated and you're going to have more participation as well. So they absolutely hear us, but we want them to listen, and not just listen, actualize the promise that we desire.
Come on here, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Kwame says there should be no reason why we can't organize effectively when we have something that our ancestors in the civil rights movement didn't have: social media. Which is true. They didn't have social media, but I also think social media perpetrates a lot of the noise. And depending on who people trust, they may be following somebody that's just talking a whole lot, but ain't got no action behind them. And the one that's trying to create strategy and develop things, they're ignoring because they're taking too long. And those people that do all this, they're diving in the water without testing the temperature, whereas the other folks are like, hold on, we need the proper gear, we need some oxygen, we need some fins so we can go deep. You know, they plan us all out, but people are doing these emotional responses. They dive in, they get cold, they get out. they get out. Versus you got Jay Christopher, like, if y'all have just waited, now you done went prematurely. Now I not only got to clean up the mess that you made, I got to keep the folks that's with me motivated. So how do you respond to that, bro?
I was it AIDS Watch? I think it was the AIDS Watch conference. And I adopted Vanita. That's my new Mama V. Down here in the South. But nonetheless, we were talking about the branches of government. And there's just no credibility to that thing, especially when it comes to checks and balances. And I really wish people understood how politics works, because folks always say that the president is not important. The president is nominating all of these federal judges. The president is nominating his cabinet. The president is the one who says that this is the person or the people that's going to be doing this, right? That's a reality. So no, that counts. But she said there's a fourth branch of government. So for those of us who are not familiar, because they're not teaching civics in school no more, you got the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, you got the legislative branch, the Congress, and you have the executive branch, the presidency. The fourth one that is identified is the media. Media controls the narrative. And I do think that social media can be used in a successful way, but I also think there was more cohesiveness in the organizing back then, because you weren't privy to some of the BS that's out there, right? Just as you were saying, there's so much propaganda, there's so much misinformation, and it's really easy to influence the mind. So when you had old school families who taught you in their living room before you went to the schoolhouse, right? Or you had old school families who just knew what it meant to attend certain meetings or be in certain spaces or intentionally educate themselves about the issue. They understood that. And so we did not. There has been a great job that has been done to make us believe that our minds are inadequate, to make us think that we are the substandard, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you are fed that, you then begin to believe that. Mm-hmm. And so we are seeing a steady declination as it pertains to how folks are able to apply their learning. So when we talk about folks who need to be active, what is it that they actually know? How educated or informed are them to be in the streets, right? And then we have a lot of our older folk who are looking for the younger folk, but they don't want to train up a child in the way that they should go. So there's just a ball of intentional confusion that happens with the media. Going back to that social media comment, I do think that it can be successful, but it's going to take some intentional strategy. Just like we were talking earlier about the algorithm, we have to be intentional about maintaining the algorithm on things that we want to see and making sure that we are empowered as well. Don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated. Put that thing into action and keep on ticking. Yeah.
And you meant that thing right there.
Oh, did. And did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Kwame, do we got time for one more question, or is it time for commercial? Let me know. Or we can do a question. Oh, here we go. Let's do another question. We're gonna go to a commercial. Does calling and emailing their offices really work? And I'm asking this question because, listen, it'd be a lot of stuff going on, and then I'll get flooded with call the office, leave a voicemail, email the office, call the office. And technically with everything that is happening that we're being inundated with, I'll be on the phone for at least 2-3 hours calling all these offices. And you said they hear us, but are they listening? Are they checking their emails and voicemails? Does this stuff get to them? Or is there some secretary or something that's blocking all this stuff, just hitting delete, and clean the email out and say, no, you got nothing today? Like, is this effective?
Yes. What usually happens is, let's say you called in. what usually happens is you say you want to yay it or nay it, right? I support this, I don't support that. Usually the receptionist or whoever is supposed to tally that. Yeah, these many yeses have called in, these many no's, so that whoever the official is can say, okay, this many people do want this many people don't want this, okay? But do they actually take that into account, right? That's another thing, right? So are they paying attention to your emails? I'm pretty sure that's being filtered first. Are they paying attention to your phone calls? Yeah, the things ring on the hook. So yeah, I mean, it works. It sounds alarms. But we got to be more strategic about that as well.
Got it. Love it. All right, y'all, listen. You're watching Conversations with Clergy. This is the first half. My special guest, J. Christopher Johnson, founding of Mobilizing Millennials. And I tell you, he is out there doing the work. If you are just now tuning in, don't go nowhere. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Hey y'all, it's Nicole D. Vick from Nicole D. Vick Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the second half of Conversations with Clergy. We really only scratched the surface with this phenomenal conversation about the power of mobilization, the importance of really reaching out to state legislature and all that kind of stuff. And I have a lot of questions, but I can't cover them all because we are short on time. So I'm going to just wing it and see what I may remember and what's really I think is important. So
I'm going to try to keep it short.
Hey, here we go. No. You can't minimize greatness. All right. So, bro. So I believe we have local elections coming up. Is it this year or next year?
Next year, midterm elections.
Midterm elections.
Yes.
What is the importance of voting in the midterms? Will that get Trump out of office?
It won't get Trump out of office, but it will slow down and stifle his plan, right? So midterm elections mean in the middle of the presidential term, right? So right now we are under a conservative regime. And by the time next year comes, there are going to be people who are running for office and running against incumbents and trying to uproot people out of their seats. The importance of that thing is people are looking at the policy and the decisions that are being made right now. And folks have to understand that we are run totally by a conservative party. that has a certain set of beliefs. Okay, when we get to the midterm elections, we have to be conscious about those persons that support our positions, right?
Okay.
I'm a person who looks at policy over people. And so it just so happens that the Republican Party is enacting these things. However, when it comes to the liberal side of things, Democrats, or even if it were an independent individual, right? You're looking at different policy agendas. And so even though Trump may be the president, if you have more Democrats in the House and the Senate who are going to vote against his agenda, or who's going to try to roll back some of these harmful pieces of legislation and policy, then we would be in a much better position. But right now, everybody is at his will because everybody shares that same belief. Everybody has that same system of thinking. For what reason? I don't know. But yeah, it's very important for us to participate in elections. A lot of times, midterm elections, depending on them, they can be low turnout. They're accounting for you not to show up. Go to the polls. The reality is, even though they may leave a rally early, they still going to be the first ones going to the polls. We cannot get tired. We cannot give up. We have work to do.
Got it. Love it. Love it. Now, the name of your organization is Mobilizing Millennials. And, you know, a lot of people in my generation and older will look at millennials in a very negative light. Like, millennials don't care. Millennials are distracted. Millennials are only using social media to show their bodies and build these false perceptions of themselves. But I believe that to be false. I do think there are some millennials out there that's really, really about that life. So when we talk about millennials and the millennial buy-in to current political movements and political change, what are you seeing? Is your work difficult when it comes to mobilizing millennials, or are you finding that millennials just need somebody to kind of rally them together because there is interest?
No, I'm glad that you asked me that. So I'm about to launch another program with Mobilizing Millennials, the M-Man, or the Mobilizing Millennials Action Network, where action meets impact. And so originally, when founding the organization, it was definitely just a training organization, advocacy organization, and a resource hub, if you will. Now, as time is continuing, folks are wanting to be much more involved, and I have been confronted with people who want to be involved with Mobilizing Millennials directly, whether they are sending me their resume and TikTok, seeing a video, or DMing on Facebook. They are eager to be involved, but I've heard they don't know where to start. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to, right? So it's very important that we are affiliating ourselves with organizations such as Mobilizing Millennials so that you can at least have a training ground, so that you can at least have a sense of community that shares your thought processes about the policy that you want to implement, right? And so I do know, and folks got to also understand, millennials started in 1981. The old millennials 44. It's not children. You know what I'm saying? So we got to shake that narrative. I'm so confused about that. These are grown people who are feeling the brunt of the effects of generations who come before us.
Right. Right.
And I don't care how folks, I do care. It doesn't matter to me how folks in a healthy way, people manage their trauma. So, baby, if you're on Instagram and you've taken a bathing suit picture, eating a piece of avocado toast next to the pool, you go ahead and you do that, okay? Your business is your business. At the end of the day, don't forget that you still need to be involved, but you wrong, and don't listen to what them people gotta say. But no, the millennials, we in this thing. And actually, I was born the last year of the millennials, so I just made it.
Barely made it.
Barely made it. Actually, millennials, I don't know. But yeah, stuff is just all over at this place. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Folks want to be involved, but just need to know where to start.
And then my last question basically is, I'm going to extract from what you just said about don't give up. We got to stay in the fight. We got to run this race. Basically, don't get tired. The thing about it is sustainability. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to sustain momentum in the work? because this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This a long sport we in right now, and people gonna get wheezy. They gonna get hungry. They gonna want to sit off by the side and drink some water while y'all keep going. What are you doing? What is your message to really support sustainability and promote the importance of sustainability?
I was invited to speak at the inaugural Western Region Conference. I had to get my coordinates right. Western Region Conference for the National Action Network, headed by Reverend Al Sharpton. And as I told the folks who are assembled there, is that oftentimes we are in things for the end goal, but the end goal can sometimes be a long game. So just as we get frustrated looking at the quarters of football and saying, oh, it's so close, oh, you almost had it, oh, if you would have just did this. If we can analyze a football game like that, certainly we can analyze the happenings of our life like that. And so for me, the impact that can be made or felt is going to come from that of you being sustained. But what needs to happen? If you need to take shifts, take shifts. If somebody does this part, if somebody needs to do this part, do that. If you need to do an inventory of or a skills inventory to see how you can best align to moving this thing forward to where you're not burned out, but you just understand that this is a part of the journey, do that. But whatever it is, don't you give up. So that's why I take it personally. And I have 6 things more specifically that's important to me and the work with Mobilizing Millennials. And number 1, that's training leaders, because somebody got to be doing this now and tomorrow. Okay, we can't just think that we can go to sleep and things just going to be all right. Train some folks. Education, civic education, making sure that young people understand how political systems work. Oftentimes people are giving up because they are not privy to how systems work. Right. And honestly, yes, it can be complex, but go to YouTube. It's only a bill on Capitol Hill. Come on. All right, y'all, come on now. Y'all stay with me.
Come on.
Third one is community engagement. You got to bring people together. You have to have events, but you need to also personalize the experience to people. And so when Project 2025 came out, that 900 page, folk did not know how to humanize that to their experience, their existence, their reality. And so we must be intentional about what that messaging looks like. Policy advocacy. If it is something that you want to happen, get involved in the fight. And that doesn't mean that you have to go directly to the legislator. That can mean you can make a phone call. That can mean you're going to sit in a panel and making sure that your body count shows support for whatever it is being discussed in the room. That's advocacy. Voter empowerment. We got a lot of people who are already registered to vote. They just don't vote. Go vote. Okay? Oftentimes, we always doing these voter registration drives. I promise you, we have the numbers. Matter of fact, in the state of Louisiana, we have more registered Democrats than we do Republicans. But I can't tell. Okay? But that goes to show you how disenfranchised certain demographics and populations of people are.
Yeah.
And then building movements. We got to create campaigns. We got to create initiatives, and we got to create networks like the Mobilizing Millennials Action Network so that we are coming together. Just as you said, brother, folks always are wanting to start something, always wanting to lead something. This was not my intention when finding this organization. It so happened to be, right? And so I would also implore folks to get in the fight for the right reason, okay? A lot of times progress ain't being made because you are here. You're here for self-sufficiency. And not here for the group's goal. And so I would charge folks to be aligned with people, groups, and organizations that they can feel most supported by and even comforted by. Okay, we're going through some times. These are emotional times. Be around people who are going to be conducive to bringing you peace.
I love that. Bruh, man, I can sit and talk to you all day.
Yeah. Likewise, man.
Yeah, it's refreshing to be to have an exchange with somebody that's not blowing smoke, that's really doing the work and understands the work, you know, and then has the heart to help others better understand it as well. So before we end this, let people know how they can connect with you, support Mobilizing Millennials, join Mobilizing Millennials, join the up and coming Action Network. that you're putting together, just how can they be a part? Is this exclusively for folks down there in New Orleans that love to have boudin on the front porch? Or can people out here on the West Coast that eat guacamole, can we take part in as well? We'll bring the guac, you bring the etouffee. We'll have a wonderful, wonderful meal.
That boudin is in certain parts, all right? That's known in certain parts, just to put that out there. But no, nonetheless, if folks want to get in contact with me and want to be a part of the Action Network, because we haven't launched the forum or anything just yet, that's going to be done in the coming weeks, you can email us at admin@mobilizingmillennials.org, and my administrative specialist will go ahead and make sure that you are in conversation with me and we can discuss whatever it is that you want to discuss. Please note that I am here as a resource. And this is very much so personal. You can follow us on all social media sites at Mobilizing Millennials. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on that other platform as Moby Millennials. And then personally, you can follow me at JCJFORLA on socials, and my name is everywhere. You can follow me anywhere. So be a part of this thing. Sign up, send me a message, shoot a DM. You feel me? Let's get active.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So listen, that wraps up this episode of Conversations with Clergy. I am Dr. Donta, author of Faithful and Forgotten. If you have not gotten my latest book, I'm going to challenge you right now to either go to my website, www.dontamorrison.com, or just go on to Amazon. It is available in hard copy, paperback, and ebook, and coming soon it will be available in audiobook that is being formatted right now. So I'm removing all excuses for you not reading it or acquiring it. So do your part, support your boy. You always saying we support Black business, we support Black people, but y'all ain't buying the book. So
put your money where your mouth is.
Money where your mouth is. Point blank. So support me, support my brother Jay Christopher, and then support Pyro Media Network for putting together amazing content that features just Black entrepreneurs doing our thing to get our message out there. All right. So until next time, everybody stay blessed, relax, breathe, and remember, do your part. Do your part. Stay in the fight. Don't give up. And that's how we establish sustainability. All right. Till next time, take care. We're out.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.